Chinese tea?
Yeah, no, all he said was Zhou, because I said Shi. Zhou.
Oh, very good.
Let's go now through the doors of time. We start out on our journey to Shenzhen, where my father's family was from. The Zhao family. This is the character for Zhao, pronounced Zhou in Mandarin. It is a surname from the Zhou dynasty in the southeastern province. This is my grandfather, my father's father, and his name, we call him Gung and Popo, his wife. This is the country of China. Shenzhen is located in the southeast side of China, down below next to Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. Shenzhen is connected to Hong Kong by land. You can simply jump on a ferry for $12 and it takes an hour, or you can get on the subway and it only takes 30 to 40 minutes and it costs $5. So it's really easy to get over to China from Hong Kong. How did our Zhao or Zhou family get to Hawaii? It was Tet Min Zhao, my great-grandfather, who immigrated from China in the late 1800s to Hawaii to do missionary work. My third cousin, Sam Zhao, picked us up from the hotel. We had gotten in contact with him through their family reaching out to ours when our family land was being sold to the government. So they were reaching out to our family so that we would sign off on the sale of the land. They finally got in touch with us, but it wasn't until after the land had been sold. Nonetheless, we met up and were able to get to know each other. So when we arrived in Shenzhen, he came to our hotel and picked us up. We arrived at our village and basically walked around. We were trying to find some locations of where our family used to live, where Tetmin and his lineage used to live before he moved to Hawaii. But we weren't really sure where it was, so we just walked around and took some pictures. We saw a lot of our family walking around because everyone that lives in the village is from the clan, so they're related to us in some shape or form. We did bump into a cute little man that we were talking with, and here he is pictured here. Our family in this region called Guangdong speaks Cantonese, so Sam was speaking Cantonese with this cute little man. Doesn't he look like us? We visited with him for a little bit, and then we went off to see our family temple. Our family name, Zhou, is up there right at the top. Represents our temple. Our ancestor's portrait was placed and displayed prominently in the temple. This is the shrine where we respectfully bow 3 times, called Baisan. Sam got a lighter and we each took 3 incense to do our 3 bows out of respect and place in the incense urn.
Sing. I'm from Hawaii.
back to see my person. Something like this. Communication.
Oh, okay.
What you want to talk to
Oh.
the family God? Say who I am, and I'm coming to here for to chat my history. Something like this.
That's good.
Okay. Well, I'm Hannah. I'm here to see my ancestors
And to learn more about them. Learn more about you. On the temple walls are a list of names of contributors who've donated to the village, the clan, and the temple. Here, Sam is describing to me some of our family members who've also contributed.
Married to Lai family.
Your father's sister. Okay, so my cousin. Okay.
And she
they
lives in
moved to
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Okay.
The whole family.
Your father's sister.
Yeah.
How many siblings does your father have?
My father have maybe 6.
Okay. And the sister's daughter lives in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And her name is up here?
This is my father's sister.
Our Zao Jupu, or the genealogical records for the entire village, were kept by our relatives in China. A cousin, Sam's sister, Sally, who lives in California, was able to get a copy of this. She gave it to my cousin Janelle, who then made copies for each of my father's generation and their lineage. It is this Jupu that I took with me to China. In our family Zao temple, Sam is showing us where our lineage through Tetmin fit in with this Jupu. It was a very sacred time. The next adventure was very exciting. A few years back, the government had obtained our land to build a freeway. When they were digging, they found remains of our family members. Out of respect for our family and our ancestors, they offered to give us a special plot of land in an existing graveyard. They made a beautiful display for our family remains. This is the first time any one of our family, even Sam, are going to see it. It's really exciting, and we're on our way up to go and see it now. Next stop was an invitation to their humble apartment and to meet the rest of their family. My father's second cousins, Sam's father and brother, Sam's mother, Sam's wife Apple, and his daughter Lily. Do you remember the movie Mulan and how she relied on her ancestors? Very much like Mulan, Hannah and I relied on our ancestors to find my mother's paternal side of her family, named the Chun family. We needed our ancestors to help us to find our great-grandpa Chun Loy's last residence, where he was buried, and our family Jiapu or genealogical record. We had very little to go on when we left Shenzhen to go to Zhongshan. Here is the story of how we got there. With a desire to learn Mandarin, I registered for a program at a university in Taiwan. Wondering where my family immigrated from in China and whether it was close to Taiwan, I decided to do some research. Looking through some family history materials that we had from great uncles, such as my grandfather Ken Leong's brothers, and things that they would have gathered and shared with us, I found out that our family was indeed from a province very close to Taiwan called Guangdong, there in yellow, and a city named Zhongshan. With that information, I started to reach out to relatives to see what they knew. Although they had many fun and exciting stories, they still did not know exactly where to find our family village. What they did know and what we could find out was about our great-grandfather Chun Loy, who was our ancestor that came over from Zhongshan to Hawaii. The little boy in the center is my grandfather Ken Leong. Seated next to him is his father Chun Loy, of whom we start this journey with. Seated at the center of this photograph is my great-grandfather, Chun Loy. He is here with his many children, which we will talk about later, some spouses, and even some grandchildren. Knowing that I'd have to gather a lot of information on my own of where to go in China to find our family village, etc., I reached out to a friend who worked for the Family History Center for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. She decided to start with a discussion with her director. At the time she was talking with him, there happened to be a gentleman standing next to them at the copy machine who happened to be there that day, and he overheard the conversation and generously offered his home phone number so that we might be able to get in contact with him. I did in fact call him. He gave me a contact for an organization in China that helps people who have moved away from China. He gave me a specific name of a woman, however, not knowing if she actually still worked there or not. That was the only information we had when we went into Zhongshan. Our first miracle. We had no idea how we were getting from the Shenzhen train station to Zhongshan. We had so many people help us figure out that we needed to get on this bus that would take us to the ferry. Second miracle, a nice gentleman spoke Chinese for us and helped us get a taxi to our hotel. After a good night's sleep, I called Mr. Joe, our contact for the bureau. He said he wouldn't be able to take us anywhere that day because he was busy taking a queen to her village. After further probing, I found out that this queen was none other than Hawaii's Narcissus Queen, Jamie Jong. After getting permission to call her, I explained to her that I too was a Narcissus princess. With that connection, she was more than willing to invite us to join them on their excursion that day. Miracle number 3, we had originally planned to go to Guangzhou, but we had a feeling we should go to Zhongshan early and skip our Guangzhou excursion. It is this decision that helped us to meet Jamie and then find some exciting things that would help us on our journey later. Enjoying our time together, she then invited us to join them for dinner. Prior to dinner, we went to tour an exquisite furniture store. It was here that we sat down for refreshments, and I sat next to a gentleman. He asked what we were doing there in China. We told him that we were doing family history. He proceeded to ask me about my family names, and then he started to write some things down. He also disclosed that he was the director of the bureau that was helping me to find my village. He got on the phone immediately, called my contact, Mr. Joe, and gave him some information on how to help me the following day. Not only was he the director and could help me further with regarding the bureau, but he also told me to remember to use a particular name that my great-grandfather Chen Loi would be referred to as in the genealogy books, and not by the name Chen Loi. He made sure that I knew to look for another name to be able to identify our family lineage within our Jiapu. Another miracle, don't you think? The next day, it was our turn to go to our village. We started out with the village of Da Che, which was Chen Loi's wife. We start out at the temple as always. There wasn't much more that we could see because we didn't have any more information. So we just visited the temple. Next, we go to Great-Grandpa Chen Loi's village. Great-Grandpa Chen Loi moved to America, or Hawaii, in the late 1800s. He got married to our grandfather, Ken Leong's mother. They had 3 children, and then she died. Then he got married again, had 6 more children. And then when he retired, he decided to move back to China. He passed away in 1951. However, he got married and had another child, Quan Xiu, who just passed away a few years ago as of this taping. He lived in Hong Kong, and he used to come back often to Great-Grandpa Chen Loi's home here in Zhongshan, in this village. Now let's visit our temple from our Chen family village. Do you notice that woman standing at the entrance of the temple? When I was paying my respect to my ancestors, the officers and translators were talking with her to see if she knew where Great-Grandpa Chen Loi lived and where we could find our Jiapu. Miraculously, this one woman being at the right place at the right time was able to tell us exactly where Great-Grandpa Chen Loi lived, as well as the old man that had the Jiapu. Remember, the Jiapu during the Cultural Revolution was usually destroyed. The fact that it was still around and still taken care of by someone in the village that was still alive was a miracle. What a great blessing it was to have her there and to be able to help us to get what we needed. We then proceeded to walk to the old man's house. However, when we got there, he was in the shower, so we had to wait outside. So we took some pictures. You may have noticed that Jamie Jung, the Narcissus Queen, joined us this day as well. She came for support as well as to translate. However, a great blessing was given to us with the other 3 translators. The original translators were not able to come, so they brought on these 3 young guards that usually work at the Sun Yat-sen Memorial, but they were pulled off that job to translate for us today. They had proved to be extremely helpful that day, as well as dear friends to this day. Yet another wonderful miracle. Now let's go into the old man's house. Queenie is sitting next to the old man. Through our visiting with him, we established that he did in fact know great-grandpa Chen Loi, remembers him moving to Hawaii and his son coming to visit him and making sure that the house was nice after he passed away in 1951. Consequently, as we were sitting there, I asked my translator, Queenie, to ask him about the Jiapu. His initial response was to shake his head and wave his hand, meaning no. I asked Queenie to please ask him why he's saying no. He said it's too hard to get. I asked Queenie to please tell him that I would help him to find it or get it. I wasn't going to travel this far and not at least look at the Jiapu. With that being said, he got up quietly, slowly. About a minute later, he came back with this. Here is good news. So there's another person that has the Jiapu also?
Yes. Yes, the electronic.
Electronic.
Yeah.
And they're in Hong Kong. All of this information they have online.
He made it in electronic.
You can see it. Like,
Yes, but we're asking to have it.
okay, that would be good.
呢啲嗰個族譜啊，你講你翻入邊睇個族譜，佢係收庫嘅時候係光緒34年，大概係一。
Because of the name that director gave us, the one other than Chen Loi, we were able to find our lineage in this Jiapu. The Jiapu is the whole town. The Jiapu is our family. So in this Jiapu, we were able to locate our lineage. The electronic version of this Jiapu that they said that they had, they're not finished with it yet. However, they did send to me electronically our Jiapu. And here's a picture of it. Notice that after this electronic version, there's a translated version of our family tree. It was translated by a kind gentleman, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that I met in Taiwan after this China trip. After viewing the Jiapu and taking a few pictures, we went off to see great-grandpa Chen Loi's home. After our visit to Great Grandpa Chen Loi's home, they took us to a wonderful seafood lunch. We received the jiapu electronically by the time I returned back to the hotel. I'm still waiting for the jupu. I made lifelong friends. My ancestors pulled through. It's been a wonderful visit to Shenzhen and Zhongshan. May we continue to learn about our ancestors and honor them.